I don't know what happens to the 2 minutes that fall between 7:28 and 7:32, but they just vanish. Well, it's 4 minutes, but I mean, like, I look at my phone, it's like, oh, 7:28. I've got a couple minutes. Maybe I'll respond to someone or something. And then I look at my phone, 7:32, and it's like, now I'm late. And I forgot my coffee. So here's what we're going to do. You're all just going to stay right there, and you're going to count backwards from Fajidal. Perfect, just as I planned. It took you that long to figure out what I meant by Fajidal. So see, I just confused you to distract you from me leaving the room. All right, now that I have my coffee, we can do a Bible study. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so we made it partway through a story, but we divided it so that it would be, we dealt with Veronica and the woman with the issue of blood yesterday. So today we move on to Jairus, continuing that story. So remember back in verse 21, it talks about Jesus returning. Verse 22, that the ruler of the synagogue, Jairus, came and asked for help with his little daughter, who was 12 years old, and she's sick. And so now, after Jesus tells Veronica, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. Verse 35 says, while he was still speaking, some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house and said, your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, do not be afraid, only believe. And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. And then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw a tumult of those who wept and wailed loudly. When he came in, he said to them, why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping. And they ridiculed him. But when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him and entered where the child was laying. Then he took the child by the hand and said, Talitha Kumi, which is translated, little girl, I say to you, arise. Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years of age, and they were overcome with great amazement. But he commanded them strictly that no one should know it, and said that something should be given to her to eat. So we see the little girl raised from the dead. We see when they got to the house, there were the wailers and the flute players and whatnot. I forget which rabbi said it, but it was in their writings that even the poorest person needed to have at least 2 wailers and 1 flute player when someone died to show your respect. And so they hire professional wailers, people who would just stand there and wail away. And so when they ridicule Jesus, it's because, hey, hanging around dead people and wailing is what we do. We see a lot of dead people in our business. And so they knew a dead person when they saw one. But Jesus raises her from the dead. Now, we made it all the way to the end. He raises her from the dead. She's probably hungry. Dying takes a lot out of you. We know the story. Most of us do, I'd say. But what jumped out at me today was actually just a little bit earlier, right at the beginning, those first 2 verses, where the people came and said, why trouble the teacher any further, right? Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? But Jesus' response was, do not be afraid, only believe. So, thinking about, and again, maybe I'm just on a one-track mind, been reading a lot about spiritual warfare. And, the influence of demons and the influence and the thoughts that they promote and provoke. Yeah, that's it. Promote and provoke. That they're trying to get their input into your mind and into your life. And quite often, when we have a struggle, we have a problem, I think this narrative right here is just perfect, is it not? Here you have the voice of the demons. Your problem is morning brain fog. Well, it's unsavable, it's unfixable. There's another word I was looking for, but it's terminal. It's dead. Now, it's not your problem's dead, meaning the problem's gone, but it's something that's irreversible. Your problem has no solution. Why trouble the teacher any further? And I think that many of us have all gone through moments, at least, where we felt this way, where we're struggling with something. It could be the big, bad, ugly sins. It could be lust and addiction and all that. But on the flip side, right, the just as sinful sins of bad attitudes, problems with anger, problems with pride, problems with envy, problems with fear, depression, and doubt. And when we don't see victory in these areas, we often become quite discouraged. And we may even hear a little voice, hey, it's game over. Why trouble the teacher any further? But you see, Jesus, he rebukes those people. He speaks into the man as well. Jairus gets two voices now going on in his head. There's one voice saying, just give up, it's over. Don't trouble the teacher anymore. And then here is another voice, do not be afraid, only believe. And it's almost like the old classic cartoon image of the two angels on our shoulders. Well, the angel and the demon. Demons are angels technically, right? And so we have these two guys, these two voices speaking into us. One is saying, quit. One is saying, believe. One is saying, game over. The other is saying, do not be afraid. And so it's just something we see in this story, not focusing so much on the resurrection of his daughter and not so focusing so much on the daughter but just focusing on Jairus, who's got two people speaking to him right now. And he's at a place where he has to decide who he's going to listen to. And you too might have similar influences in your life where there's multiple voices and one is saying quit and the other is saying go. One is saying there's no hope. The other says only believe. And so we need to be paying attention to the voices we're listening to. We need to be paying attention to the thoughts we are entertaining. And we need to take every thought captive and make it subject to Christ. And it is as simple as taking every thought that floats through our minds and then aligning it with the Scripture. It sounds so simple when I say it that way, but in reality, that's it. By having a strong knowledge of the Scriptures and then a strong diligence, because you can't just know the Scriptures, you have to apply the Scriptures. So a diligence to take thoughts captive. A diligence to say, no, I'm gonna grab onto this and I'm gonna think about this and okay, is this Christ or not? Is this of the Lord? And take those thoughts and hang on to them and decide what you're going to do with them. And again, if you hear a voice saying, well, just quit, don't bother the master anymore because your problem's not going anywhere. Well, I don't know. Is that report true and lovely, virtuous, praiseworthy? Well, if it doesn't fit in the box of Philippians 4:8, then toss it out. And so that's kind of the idea is, again, it's these voices that we have to decide whether we're going to entertain or not. Or do we just cast them out? And so Jesus had to tell Jairus, do not be afraid, only believe. Take those other guys' things they're saying and just get rid of them. Because if you sit here thinking about what they're saying, it's going to be really hard to believe. Which is why you just need to drop those things and then just cling on to what God has declared to be true. So Jesus says he had no reason to be afraid, neither do you. Which is why do not be afraid is a commandment all throughout the whole Bible. And when we are afraid, we're letting our fear and our doubt, we're letting the enemy allow us to not believe what God has said. And so, spiritual warfare, demons are always consumed with getting you to believe things that are untrue. Doctrines of demons and strategies of Satan. I mean, that's the idea, is to get Christians to believe things that are untrue. Whether that be false doctrine and heresy on a grander scheme, or it's these little things that absolutely can cripple us. So, do not be afraid, only believe. Now I get to finish my coffee. Ooh. I will tell you, if you're an avid coffee drinker like me, I know it's backwards, but Ember, mother-in-law got me this a couple of years ago, and I still love it. Keeps my coffee hot, 145 or whatever. I keep my coffee at 140. So I have hot coffee for over an hour at the perfect temperature, just where I like it. So I do not get any money from this sponsorship, opportunity. But if I could get an Ember sponsorship, that'd be pretty sweet. I know they make bigger mugs and thermoses and stuff too. So, hey, God bless you guys. Have a great day. And I want to act like one of those influencers, mash the share button, and like button, and boom, let people know that they do not need to be afraid. They only need to believe. All right. God bless you guys. You guys have a great day.